Welcome to another edition of Conscious Connections, where we explore soul centered conversations that awaken truth, inspire healing, and remind us of our divine power. I am your host, Dr. Deborah Carson, the founder of the Fear to Freedom Project, and I love to sit down with beautiful souls who are sharing their magic and transforming lives through their gifts, their stories, and their wisdom. Together, we move beyond fear right into freedom, one conscious conversation at a
Mhm.
time. And in this four episode series, it's very short. I've been sitting in sacred conversation with medicine men and women who work in deep relationship with plant spirits as teachers and as guides for healing, particularly across the emotional and psychological landscapes where fear, trauma, and disconnection have taken root. These conversations are not just about substances or altered states. They are about expanded awareness, ancient healing, and remembrance, and how plant intelligence, when approached with reverence and proper guidance, can support our nervous system, embody self awareness, and inner restoration, inner reclamation, inner transformation, all the Asians inside. This is a series that invites you to listen differently to the wisdom that emerges when you choose ancient healing rooted in safety rather than urgency. And today, we like to welcome to the show Mama Du Membere, a retreat leader and integration specialist, affectionately known as Shamandinka. Born in Gambia, West Africa, currently residing in Tulum, Mexico. He serves as a guardian and a facilitator of sacred ancestral plant medicines, mainly ayahuasca, an initiate of Kemetic sciences, and a servant of health and well being for all of humanity. Shaman Dinka's work is not about the ceremony alone as a practicing integration specialist. It is about what comes after the ceremony, the remembering, the grounding, and the living of the teachings. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Shaman
you.
Dinka.
Thank
I'm
you. Thank you. Art. I love the captive art
you
of your expression.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is truly a conscious connection. And
Mm.
I love that. I thought about it when I told you, and you kind of left me a message. And I'm like, yes, like everything is consciousness that we are connecting to, right? Even if we are unaware of it. So I want to get right into I've never even met you. This is our first time meeting. And it is because of my beautiful goddess sister, C. Sherelle, and she is your sister as well, living there in Tulum. And
Mhm.
I'm just, I love her for connecting us because I have so many questions about ayahuasca. I
That's
really
my
do.
darling. I love you should see C around here in her beautiful motor with her fluorescent colors, riding in her paradise life. That's what I love.
Yes, yes. She tells me about it all the time. I was talking to her yesterday. She's like, I just love it here. I'm like, okay, okay. I'm going to come and see what you love all about Tulum. So I will be there soon. I want to get right into some questions about you being a guardian of the medicine. Like, when did you know that you were going to be a guardian? And what
Well,
medicines are you a guardian of?
so specifically with the plants that, initiation rites come by way of being a student, right? So I was very, very fortunate and blessed to discover the plants and just go sit and learn. So the guardianship, I think there's a saying I go by that you are who you are in this world through your whole plight. So as early as I can remember, even from my fathers and my grandfathers, our household in Africa has always been one where people gather. My parents have always had that nature to be the ones that the whole community come to for support, for guidance, for instruction. And then charity was a natural, just a part of how we lived. My mom would cook tons of food and then have me and my brother go to all the aunts and drop off food. And then every other day, somebody would come do the same. So being a steward for just people to rest their minds and have a safe place to discuss the intricacies of what's going on in everyday life and their mindset and their state of their heart and their emotions has been something that's just always surrounded me through my whole life. Then even in my previous professions, in my previous life, My mom owns a chain of hair salons throughout my life growing up. And then I naturally picked up the talent, even though I worked in banks and went to school and all that stuff. I naturally picked up the talent to cut hair. So throughout high school, college, the rest of the nine, I would always be the home that a group of people would come to, and we would just be talking about life through cutting hair. So then I really dug into the ancient mystery schools around 2007. So that's where the initiation path with understanding just the fundamental building blocks of what we are as a collective unified field started. So that's where my natural teacher and guardianship role took place with people. But then the first thing I recall remembering is that I was the student. So every time you're teaching, if you're wise anyway and you can see clearly, you always see that God is teaching you through relationship. So even in your ability to
Yeah.
regurgitate what you learn and share your experiences, it's really bringing about proficiency to you. So after the 2007 initiations kind of launched me into my journey in 14, the cosmology came in, understanding as above, so below, at a deeper functional level, we're having this relationship with the nature, this very intimate relationship with the nature. Then when the plants came in, it changed the whole game. Because it started dropping in people at a boatload who were looking for this experience to connect deeply with sacred medicines as of 2020. So then, after I had sat a couple hundred rounds with this sacred, beautiful, beautiful medicine plant spirit teacher, naturally, what I feel like happened is that I was a safe, patient person. I was devoted to my heart's calling. I had a good and awareness for the kind of support that different human beings would need at different levels of their states with interacting with these medicines, with the wisdom to know how to just hold space for them to walk into this beautiful gift and discovery themselves without force. So the now after also sitting in that room for tons of dimensions of meditation, you naturally she teaches you to work the room in different ways. So I think that just became me falling right into place with learning. So even till this day, where many people may tell the story of how we had a synchronistic meeting and then their lives, in effect, had a beautiful change because of these medicines and because of my help or guardianship. It's really just a collective work that we are doing together to support souls that are ready to wipe the sleep out of their eyes just a little bit. So it was never a will of mine. It was never a wish. It was never something that I thought will come upon, but it was the single most incredible, beautiful gift that ever happened in my.
Yeah, it sounds like a beautiful gift. And yeah, I'm grateful for that because you're serving in such a way that's just helping people to, like you said, wake up and to be held by a guardian that you feel safe with. I've heard some stories that are not so safe for people. And I'm a retired social worker, so I've always cared for people. I've always been midwifing people and communities. And so the fact that you, are safe, that's everything that C talks about. I'm safe, he's safe. His safety is beautiful to me, so thank you for that. So, I think I heard you say that you sat with Mama Aya over 100 times? Did you
Who's
say
counting?
that?
Who's counting?
Okay,
I
so
put
that
it's
was
like
one of
a
the
yoga practice.
questions that yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I was interested in knowing, like, how many times are too much? How many times do you sit? How do you know? Is it that she calls you? Because a lot of people that I know are, like, scared to thinking that they're gonna lose their mind,
Hmm.
that if they sit it what can they expect? Like, how do you know when enough is enough, and how do you know how many times to sit with Mama Aya?
Well, I'll tell you this. Every concern when coming in contact with specifically Mother Ayahuasca is a very legitimate concern because she is a beautiful teacher, but it is a very intense process. It's important that we understand that clearly. But now consider in the Amazon where the sacred medicine is common to them. They dance with this medicine, they celebrate with this medicine, they sing with this medicine. Some drink on a daily basis, some drink on a weekly basis. Children drink and dance and get together in celebration. So this is a part of their culture. This is a part of their way of life and connecting with all of the spirits of the jungle, not just Mother Ayahuasca. So there's no such thing really as how many times is too much because for each person's encounter with this connection to themselves, because the plant's really just a Wi-Fi medium connection to help you connect with yourself. So this is all a journey between you and understanding your oneness with the one heart of the divine and the divine love function. Everything in between that you have to box and spar with is all the experiences, all the memory through your waters and your the information in your cells and all your people, there I use the word trauma that you went through. So it's just you boxing against yourself until you can break through to that infinite love of the divine on the other side. So the medicine always meets you exactly where you are in your process. Some people can come and sit with medicine once, and just that remembrance of connecting to your spirit, that there's something more, that you are held by the divine and that you are connected to all the elements around you, that may be enough to just carry on with your life and remove and release some energy and continue on. Other people come and it becomes a school of learning. It becomes a way to sit and meditate deep and pray, and just a way to connect with yourself. And then other people come with more ancient callings, or more, should I say, vivid callings, to sit in their initiation portal doorways lead through not just this medicine, but other medicines also. So, we are a very, very sacred existence as a whole totality. So there are many, many facets of that, to where a person returns to his God or goddess self. And there are many different ways to discover what that path looks like for each person. So I think because
Mm,
ayahuasca has been commonly known in the public now for people going to heal and then purge and then see the universe and the cosmos, it might be by public perception limited to that, but it's so, so much more than that. So there's no such thing as too much, and it's not necessarily for everyone. You can connect with yourself through just your breathing, just breath work, through your consciousness awareness about your diet and how you feed your body. You just being a good human and working to be better every day. So this other way just happens to be a sacred calling for specifically those that has route to it. So for me, yes, it's been over a couple hundred times, but that's really, I mean, I keep my diapers on, because every time you think you know something, the universe shows you that there's a lot more that you don't know. And I feel like also that's been one of the things that's blessed me to just be able to connect with this beautiful everything creation that we are, is that there's never one thing that really helped me get out of my own way, is never actually desiring to know more or to want more. Like I was never really curious about like what's more. I always had this connection since I was like 7 years old, as far as I can remember, with everything. But I've had great support from this medicine, other medicines such as Bufal, various beautiful teachers of mine that are on the path also, in just coming into this oneness state and having the courage to stand into that. You had a
mm,
beautiful introduction about what your podcast was about, mentioning specifically getting from fear to freedom, because that's one of the main things that this process puts you through. When you are a child of this world, as all of us are, we are born and raised in a certain kind of construct and conditioning, which also serves a role into slowly indoctrinating us into what society really is and is about. So no shade to institutions and schools and ways of being of the past. But as we come into awareness of how we function as a whole harmonic system, our natural function is life provides, life supports, life nourishes, and life grows you naturally. Just like when you're sleeping, your heart's beating, you're not telling your heart to keep beating to keep you alive. When you have an injury, you're not telling your body to heal to help you get well. Life on the outside provides for you in the same exact way. So this notion of survival that many of our people go through because of their own plight, because of their own ancestral plight, going through the process of washing away those waters and cleansing those inner waters through sacred knowings and through growth and awareness, that can encompass a lot of different activities such as plant medicines. But after you clear all of that, what that hopefully gets you to is the state of safety, knowing that you are in the
yeah,
womb of the beautiful Mother Earth, knowing that you are surrounded
yeah,
by the Garden of Eden, as they call it, in any scripture you want to look at, in any divinity form you want to look at, an archetype. You, as a infinite soul, housing this beautiful temple as a light being, have the ability to then rise to that through purification, through integrity, through ma'at balance, through understanding how to be one with the nature and serve everything around you as you would serve yourself. That perfect balance brings you into the state of freedom. to where you understand that,
Yeah.
okay, as long as you're following your heart's calling and you sprinkle a little bit, if you're smart, a lot of love, you raise straight into freedom. And that freedom is on all of your bodies, the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, the astral body, the whole nine yards. And how you get to that medium or what medium you use to get to that state can vary throughout your journey. That's why I think one of the most powerful things a person can do is to just connect with your heart and start to trust your path, because you'll know what doorway calls you to that experience. It may be someone watching your podcast for the first time, and just from that conversation, it gives them confirmation of what they know that they're living and experiencing, that there's more to just working to survive to make a living, that you can actually shift that perspective and then start to feel like life supports you more, and naturally that'll bring you into what this mirrored hologram really is.
Yes. Oh my God. This is for me. This podcast is for me. I am the Fear to Freedom Project. It is the truth. And so you are teaching me because I feel like I have just been like, and I know this is what my soul has chosen as its theme here. I learned that after the spiritual awakening, but I just feel like there's something that's kind of holding me back from feeling this total connection, but I always hear my guides, I'm on the right path. I am so on the right path that, I'm not doubtful about that. It's just like, it's almost like for me, like a maze, so to speak. And I like I don't like, puzzles and stuff like that. So sometimes this feels like a puzzle. I gotta try to put the pieces together, but I am moving towards opening up my heart more, and that's not a hard task for me. I've always been that person that cared, that saw humanity for something more than just surface, and I've always been that person that people would come to for safety, for solace, for comforting, for trying to work things out. But I found myself like, shit, I don't even know how to work things out. Like I had to retire early because I'm like, feeling like stuck out here. Like, what am I doing? So you're really talking to me. What I wanted to ask is, so what about private ceremonies versus community ceremonies? Like, how would one for me, I've never sat with ayahuasca, though I feel called, and I'm not rushing it because she's already told me not to let anyone force me and to go slow with her, and that she's going to teach me in a very gentle way. But I see that there are community ceremonies, and then I hear that there are private ceremonies. How would one know how to choose, how to determine what's best for them for the first time?
Well, once you're ready, a door will appear. Once you're ready, a connection will show up and you'll see a kind of opportunity to be able to go through. Now, whether it's a private, public ceremony, that's where the word surrender really comes in. Because when you come into the experience, spirit naturally, through this beautiful constellation that we live in, has a function to bring about all the elements of your ceremony, from the number of people that are there, to the location, to who the shaman is, to what time it is, to when it rains in the ceremony. I mean, when you start to learn the depths of how this nature dances in this musical existence that we live in, all of the elements, every single one of it, the more you surrender it, the better. So I think once you've been able to properly vet exactly who you're called to sit with, and you see that that door is calling you, the rest you should really surrender, because many people want to do a private and small groups and they assume it's better, and it's not necessarily, because, in this reality that we live in, we are used to, again, seeing ourselves as separate because our experience is coming from this inner self. And some people, you get to understand the connection between all of us as a humanity, but when you go under this higher state in this other dimension with the plants, that veil kind of starts to remove itself very slowly. So there's a reason why you might have a person specifically that you never met before sitting to your left. There are other reasons why, to facilitate your healing or experiences you're supposed to have, that you have certain mirrors of yourself. And I always suggest to people to really just surrender when you come upon. Once you know your door, you get a clear green light from your heart that these are the people you're supposed to sit with, go. Everything else, forget about it, because it's just going to be more content for you to distract yourself with when you're in the room. You do want to be focused on your own internal process while you're in the room, but that's where you begin this school of learning, because life is about relationship. When you go out into the world, you're not by yourself. So you can't privatize
Yeah.
every function of how you deal with all of the elements around you. So in the ceremony, it's a microcosm of how you are in life. And when you go in there, it
Yeah.
removes the
Yeah.
veil and shows you all the sensitivities, all the things that you're scared to hide out. And how else are we going to get from fear to freedom unless you're willing to go step by burying yourself, fully naked in
Yes.
front of the divine,
Yes.
if you will, so it works the best to support you. And if you do go in with fear and trepidation, it's fine. You can have those and go anyway, and it will still work on you slowly, but I think for many people who arrive at that door, you've already been doing some deep self work to some extent. And you mentioned feeling resistance and all those things. It's important to remember that that's like we are crystals. So the way you're going to sharpen, like you need some friction and you're going to have some of that just hesitancy before you have a major breakthrough. And that's if you don't have that, then you're not on the right path. That's a very normal part of the process. One soothing thing to remember is all this is doing is walking you step by step through liberation. And as you move through liberation, you're just getting your old self out the way, the voices in your head, your mama's voice, your dad's voice, the ancestral information and memory through the cell and the vessel, your belief systems, your judgments against all of the things that you feel separate us as one living organism in perfect harmony. So this
Mhm.
thing, when they talk about healing ancestral wounding, it's not something that's meant to get us back to separate us to where we even start to feel extra prideful about things that make us unique, even though those are things to celebrate. But hopefully it brings you to the oneness of breaking through all of those patterns that were able to separate humanity for so many years before. But you mentioned also you wanting to always serve and be in service, and you're like, well, I can't get it together. Well, the truth is, that's where the life full circle comes back. You having that beautiful heart
Yeah.
to always want to think of others and serve others is a perfect way to come into this next chapter where it's going to teach you how to then go to serve yourself. And when you do serve yourself, you actually
Yes.
ultimately serve everybody else the same. And that part becomes tricky because, I always say for every overgiver, there's a taker. And for every taker, there's an overgiver to show you the balance. But this is more really about, I mean, to me, it's the beautiful creation story. It's God waking up to itself. And it's so, I wish I had words
Yeah.
because I think the word beautiful doesn't really sum up what these experiences do. It's
Yeah.
it's truly incredible, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I am when I retired early, Shamandinka, it was a big decision because I wasn't at retirement age, but I was being led to do that because serving for 28 years people who have been forgotten is a lot. It's very taxing on you, but I enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoy serving others, but it just got to the point where it's like, okay, like, what am I here for? Why
Mhm.
am I here? What does it mean for me to be in this, on this earth? And so sometimes people are asking me like, what am I doing? Like, I'm allowing things to happen for me. I'm seeking peace and solace and understanding and awareness of myself. And so I think that's a beautiful thing for me to be in a space where I want to love myself more. I want to learn more about, my expansiveness. Like, why am I here? Like that God part of me, who is that? What does that mean? So
Mhm.
I had an experience with Iboga and I was able to sit with that beautiful medicine under the Bwiti tribe. And um I learned so much and I love that medicine. It definitely keeps you grounded and in your body, and it's all about you and yourself, no one else outside of yourself. And they had music there, and I really loved the music, and I remember my one of the other a couple of the other participants just did not like the music.
Mhm.
And so I want to know why Ikaros are so important during the ceremony, because that was one thing that the medicine woman talked about is that the music was chosen by the medicine.
Mhm.
and it was for a particular reason. So why is it I always hear about Ikaros, Ikaros? I had to look that up. Why is that so important? Can you talk about that, like the music?
So the beautiful sacred prayers, Ikaros, are the plants singing.
Ikaros.
So they're the plants that are, and us as mediums, we surrender our vessel, and then the plants sing. So when the plants sing, they're then moving through your body to do specific healing work. They could be healing in your blood, in your bones, in your body, in your emotion, in your hips, and wherever they may be working. So it's a way to kind of connect. But then the Ikaros help you to travel through the trance also. So you can
Mm,
even have an Ikaro be birthed from your own process that's a part of your own story. So it's a fusion between the relationship between you and the plants, but really, like when we're singing and playing instruments, because like you got to see me with a drum, it's something incredible. But when I'm
okay.
in the medicine, I'm not, and even now, because I've kind of lived with the divine expression, allowing it to lead the life while I just hang in the passenger seat pretty much. But in essence, it's the spirit playing the whole time. So it's your highest, it's like the Wi
Got
Fi
you.
connection of the plants connect you to your highest spirit. You surrender the body and let it do its thing. And this beautiful temple we're in, after you do some cleaning of the chemicals, the free radicals, the things that desensitize it to its aliveness, it comes alive. Without mind, your whole body can function and run your life
Mm,
probably more organized than you can. But that essence of mediumship that's been lost to so many of us from not knowing our ancient culture and the ancient ways, which is why it's beautiful. You said with Iboga, it's a good way to like root you in. It reveals the more of the power that we have while we're in this human vessel than we know of. So the Ikaros is the same. So when it comes through and you surrender the body and the spirit comes through you, that's what sings. Now, if you say that to people who have a different kind of background and thinking, oh, you got to be careful of what spirits allow you to enter. All of that is even as a part of learning and your own understanding of what the divine pathways are, because it's all you. But your belief system can empower
mm.
or disempower whatever your perception chooses to feel like is you or is not you. So when many people
Yes.
start to expand your consciousness and you start to feel different things and experience heightened dreams, heightened awareness, or your body moving by itself, or you think you've maybe been possessed by something. No, it's you. You're just not aware of how your spirit functions when it's fully alive, and that your body can come alive. Your heart has a higher heart from its regular functioning. After you do a certain amount of cleaning of the heart, every scripture has told you about the higher heart of the divine to come in. So depending on how deeply you know about that, whenever these things come alive, you can chill and just live your life in the passenger seat and just follow your own internal guidance, and it could do everything to you. So I do this wonderful somatic practice that I learned from my comedic initiations of how to send a signal to activate that heart consciousness to allow people's bodies to come alive again, to then start to function, because then your body starts to fuse in one with the nature. It can see before, it can see during, it can see after. It can see 360 the things you can see. It's aware of what you should eat and balance with your system to have perfect harmony. It could brush your teeth for you. It could pick your clothes. It could tell you where to go, who to speak to, who not to speak to right now. It can help you get closer to your truth in terms of what you really think and feel outward. There's so many layers of getting connected with yourself that are there for you to discover. So for me, when people are getting into these journeys, I'm like, go if you feel the call, because what you're about to discover has so many other depths that if you go and you sit through one, that's why I'm a champion of doing the work. I don't know if C told you about this with me. I'm a sweet guy. I'm a big teddy bear and everything. But when people come to us to do the work, I'm like, hey, we're not here to tiptoe. You're here to do the work. Let's go do the work. So with all the softness and grace, there's so many gifts for you to discover, to where to me, there's so much to gain. We don't want to jump into the drama or the speculation about and it's good to be inquisitive, right? Because you're coming into a space always that you're not aware of with the medicines. But I'm like, when you're called to connect with your spirit, go sit and learn. Because God got so much to
Yeah.
teach you. He
Yeah.
got so much to teach you. And I do understand sometimes it's necessary to nudge some of our people a little more to get away from that fear consciousness, to
Oh my
lead more
God,
into that
yes.
freedom, you
Yes.
know. But I think that's also in a ways, a perfect protection for individuals and for the medicines that are kept sacred as these allies, because some of that stuff filters people who are not exactly in a state where they're ready. Like some of the noise that you may hear in
Mm.
socials and all that, it can filter who's not actually ready for those doorways. Because when you're ready for the divine to speak, then you're like, it goes back to the simple statement that God is omnipresent everywhere at all times. It goes back to that state. So
Yeah, yeah.
when you have the call to connect with your heart, you got God. You got nothing to worry about. But you're going to need to strengthen in
Mm.
that faith as you go through everything, because it's going to show you your own ways that you can sometimes block those passages through whatever you feel like it may. And a lot of it may not be ways that you're responsible for conditioning yourself to be, but it will also make sure it like you are your own best teacher. So learning to trust yourself is a pinnacle of walking in through the door the first time, because no one can make you go in any ceremony. You know, the biggest, it's like taking a bungee jump. When you overcome that initial fear, you get so much liberation from that. But then after that, you will be tested. I like to, I'm a straight shooter. I like to be fair game with people. There are tests that are long there. Not all of it's easy. It could be really intense on the body sometimes, or you could just go and have a blissful moment on a cloud the whole time. So it's all according to like what you need, but then you realize that's when life, to me, when you start diving inward and you stop thinking about all the things we can just kind of consume through life's mundanality, if that's a word, that's when life truly begins, because then you start to live.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you do a somatic practice that opens up the heart or deals with
Mhm.
the heart. I had an experience here in my bedroom where I was actually dropped into the heart. I could see the chambers and I could see it actually pumping. That was, so imagine walking around with blindfolds on, and then this is my experience. And then all of a sudden there's this spiritual awakening and you realize that you are spirit, you're not just your body. That was very jarring for me. So for a couple years, it was rough actually. If I'm not gonna lie, it was
Mhm.
hard. I think somebody called it darkness or dark night of the soul. I don't know, but it was hard as shit for me. And I was in here cursing at everything, everybody, if it was God, ancestors. I didn't care. Whoever was listening to me, I was like, what the fuck? What's going
Mhm.
on? Like, what does this mean?
That's real.
And so, yeah, yeah, that's just real because I was like, what does this mean? But, and then as I continue to go on and I hear my guides, I hear my ancestors, they're like talking to me, telling me to keep going, keep forward. We're here and giving me all of this instruction. And it's somewhat overwhelming. It could be jarring for people, but I had this experience where I actually dropped into the chamber of my heart. And after it was over, I was just like, whoa. I have a girlfriend who she's a channel, and she started to tell me what it was. And I could feel my heart, something from my heart going out to the world. Like it was actually moving from my heart to the world. And I was like, what is this? It felt good because I felt like I was doing something for humanity. I don't even know what it was, but I loved them. I wished well for them. I wished well for everyone. And it was all like pouring out of me. So that was such a beautiful thing. I can't wait to maybe come there and experience your somatic practice because I love being in my heart. I started to sit with the medicine of mama cacao and I just feel very excited, very connected to her. And yeah, I love her. I'm drinking her now all the time. I have ceremony with myself. And sometimes I feel like, I had to be called to this because I'm very smart, but I'm not this clever to, like, make these things up, you know? I'm not clever to, like, have these feelings, and I feel almost like a kid, you know what I mean? I feel like a child, I feel excited, I wanna learn, I wanna know more, I wanna know why I'm here and all of this things, so it's really good. I'm glad that you said that about the heart. I am. And so you also said something which brings me to, the medicine takes you to the door, but integration sort of kind of carries you through. And integration was very important when I sat with Iboga. So being an integration specialist extraordinaire that you are, what does that actually mean in a lived experience like integration? Why is that so important? And I want people to know, I know why it was important to me, but why is it integration so important after the ceremony?
Well, integration is the live experience, and it speaks to exactly what you just described. When you have this blast into your spirit and your heart opens, you're not sure who's talking. Quite literally, you go,
Yeah.
wait a minute, is this God or is this the CIA or am I dead? I remember one of my ascension initiations, I was like, okay, so I died, and now God's walking me backwards. I could speak to the whole nature. I could function with the birds in perfect synchronicity. I could change the weather based on how I was feeling. And where all these other miraculous oneness themes were coming up. And then the divinity was checking if I was crazy enough to think that it was just I was God and everything was. So all of these things at the doorway come to check in where you are in your heart and where you are in your mind and where you are in the truth. Not just things we think ideally would be our truth. Like this thing weeds out all the stuff that's fluff and gets you to your truth. So integration support is really there to support people so that they don't go into psychosis and think it's just them. When they start to feel more, see more, experience more, shed more, that they know it's a pretty normal part of the process. It is a fine line between awakening and psychosis because truly it does break the pattern and shell of everything you've known before. So quite literally, it's
Mm.
busting you into a completely new way of seeing and of being. And if you still live in like a foot in and out of society as it is now, you could think, all right, am I losing it? So what integration looks like is one, giving them certain simple tools to help them ease the changes more into their life. Because first thing that happens, and we're talking somatics,
Yeah,
we are all water, a lot more than that in the wheels of
yeah,
light. But the body and the vessel is a lot of water. So when you change the waters inward and you do a certain amount of cleansing, immediately the outside of your life changes. And you growing into that relationship with understanding your inner state of being and how it's relevant to everything that you literally see around you on the outside. That's a process to where you're not going to see that so quickly. So integration allows you to move with the changes in a more graceful pace and allowing the things that are supposed to be ushered out of your life to be ushered out of your life. And then having the tools to have the courage to step towards the things that are true to your heart more and more. So it goes into talking about
yeah,
like patience, talking about nourishing the body. It goes into talking about not preaching and really just embodying all of these changes before you get too excited and the outside things. So integration is when you go and live your life now, the couple things that it came and told you to change integrity wise, are you actually changing those? The one big, a lot of times we want big astronomical changes in our life, which is fine. But sometimes that next step is the piece you have to move for all the other things to come. So one of the biggest things
mhm,
with
mhm.
integration is just allowing yourself to get to your truth. What's the truth? Your truth was that yeah, you love serving people, but okay, that's been great for a while, but I know there's more to me. I gotta retire. I gotta get out of this. That's the truth. To have the courage to step into that truth did what? It opened you up to another channel where you have more expression and more like beings coming into your awareness. So every time you make a small step towards that, life expands and supports you towards that. So my thing as an integration is just
Yeah,
to have a space to hold for people to hear themselves. And then if I have a natural channel guidance, it's really still coming from themselves. I'm just sitting in front of them to allow it to reveal. So it's just creating that space of support for you to know that, for you to hear yourself express and then get some practices to go back. And like personal practices to me are some of the most important things you could have for integration also. So practices to go
yeah,
back into the breath,
yeah,
to go back into the body because one main thing that you get from all of these medicines is you get to sit in silence. So much of life is sped up all the time between what naturally has you sped up outside of you that you think and your program or your agenda that you're used to. That how often do we get a chance to slow down all the noise to hear? I was one of my favorite quotes is like, "I'm quiet, the mind and the soul will speak." When you're in ayahuasca or you're in iboga, it's 8 hours, 15 hours, 3 days, sometimes iboga, depending on what happens is you cut out all the
Yeah,
outside noise to hear your nature wake up to then connect with everything outside of you. So I do champion those who also say, oh, you don't need plants. You don't need this. You can do the meditation. That's true. You can if you're going to go sit through them. But a lot of other times, the way to jump through that
yeah,
quantum door is to sit with the plants, but ultimately going back to silence as a natural part of your programming will then bring you to start integrating these experiences. So you allow your system to process. When you turn off all the music and you sit with nature and you just go relax somewhere for a while, you'll notice all of these thoughts start coming up. And when the thoughts are coming up, sometimes they can throw
yeah,
you into joy and throw you into different kind of emotions, but it's important for you to allow those things to process because we're accumulating memory through our vessel, through our plasma all the time. So making a habit to clean that
yeah.
stuff and give yourself a clean slate, and then having your new way of life, your new good habits in your way of living start to re-indoctrinate you to healthier ways of being. That's now a way to condition yourself to ways that are going to be healthy for you to think and feel all the time. So integration looks like now starting to
Yes.
support this consistent cleansing of your waters and starting to reintroduce new ways of being that are going to support your health and wellness on every facet of your life.
That is so true. That is what's going on with Dr. Deb. I am
Hmm.
telling you, you are
Hmm.
speaking like what is my entire trajectory right now. I love it, but sometimes I don't love it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't. I'm
That's
like,
the truth.
yeah, I don't like
We
it. I'm
talked
like, it's
about
too
getting the
much. It's
truth, right?
overwhelming. Yeah, I ain't even gonna lie. I can't, it's no lie in me. So I'm like, yeah, I don't like this. I don't get it. It feels harder. Sometimes I think I look back and I'm like, well, damn, like being blind and walking around here blind was easier because now I see, my eyes are open, and I can't blame a damn soul for anything. It is all on me, it's my choice. I'm not being forced. I wasn't forced to come here, to be here, to have this experience. And so you look at that like, it took me a minute to even lean into that, yeah, learning that, you weren't forced to come to earth. And I'm like, yeah, I ain't buying that. I didn't ask to come here. I didn't. So it took me some months to lean into that one. But yeah, I'm trusting my path. I trust myself. This is the thing. You said something about learning to trust yourself. That is the
Mm.
part, because I was going between like, who's talking? Who's saying these things? Is it me? Am I losing my mind? So I trust myself more and more each day. And yeah, I'm excited about the path. Sometimes it's like, what's going to happen next? What are the misconceptions about the plant spirits? And I'd like for you to talk about quickly about the diet
Hmm.
in order for someone to sit with Mama Ayahuasca. What diet should they be? Because when I was living in Panama and the idea of sitting with ayahuasca came to me,
Hmm.
but it never took place because number 1, I smoked cigarettes. I was a
Hmm.
cigarette smoker, and they told me that I had to stop for 2 weeks, and I was like, "Bullshit. It's not gonna work.
Hmm.
It's not gonna happen for me." So I knew I wasn't gonna do that. I ate meat, a lot of meat. I was, like, using a keto diet at that time, and I wasn't in the mindset. I just really wasn't. I was like, "I don't know what it's all about. If you have to do all of these rituals, you gotta stop doing all of the things that I thought were, anchoring me and grounding me." And so when I came back to the States, I got bit by a copperhead snake. That stopped. I never smoked a cigarette after that.
Mm.
And then I just started, following a plant-based diet, and just my entire mindset has changed. And so I just want to know, how do people prepare their vessels to receive ayahuasca? 'Cause it has to be, you have to you have to be in a space, I think. What do you say, Shamandinka?
Well, medicine is a she will clean you out. So when you come to get clean, you'd rather just go closer to connecting and going through your journey rather than her putting you through the intense cleaning. So if you don't do the cleaning process, you will at some point. So the purification is important. And we are what we consume. So energetically, there are a lot of things that if you put in your body, you are picking up the hormones of all of those things. And when you talk about habits and things that people feel like they are really attached to, you don't really know the things that you're addicted to until you try to stop. So purifying your body is
Yes.
the first step because it allows you to walk into your temple, because this is an encounter with you and your temple in a sacred way to where you're intentionally putting, the word sacrifice means sacred offering, not that you're losing something. When you make a sacred offering, you get tenfold, thousandfold, a millionfold blessings back. So when you're making the sacred offering to approach your temple in the most respective way, the diet consists of avoiding red meat. And it can vary. It can vary. Like to make a fusion and a connection with the plants. At our level, you got to diet sometimes for months. And at a much deeper restriction. So at the basics of taking ayahuasca for the first time, no alcohol, no marijuana, no sex, no spicy foods, no heavy seed oils, no red meat, no pork. You can do chicken, you can do fish, baked or grilled, and you want to just do it as clean as possible, because that allows, I mean, just basically for the plant to connect with you deeper. So you go in clean. Sometimes if you go in based on how much you respect the process, you can go in and not connect at all and walk out as blind as you were when you walked in. So
Wow.
God's not going to reward you if you walk to his altar playing around, or
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
you might go in there thinking, because it's you meeting yourself. So you might go in there thinking you're
Yeah.
going to play, and then you get a hard whooping. And also,
Yeah.
pregnant women can facilitate ayahuasca ceremonies. Pregnant women can go drink medicine. 70, 80-year-old women can go sit and drink medicine, and it could be as gentle with them, because this thing is the wisdom of the earth. So you go in, depending on who you are, it'll meet you exactly where you are. But the diet is important because purifying your body is one of the first basic steps to allowing that connection to then carry you from there. Because there are many things that we, again, are used to consuming that desensitize us to our connection with the nature that you don't know of. When we do the master plant diets in the Amazon with like Wabinsano or Chiricsanango or all these other plants that are in the jungle, there's no lotion, no soap, no deodorant, no fruits. It's just quinoa, rice, boiled fish, sometimes eggs, every once in a while, an apple, and that's it. And water, and we only shower with rose water. Why? Because you need to get all of, like, you'd be surprised what's in the chemicals that block your connection to the sun. You'd be surprised what's in the chemicals that block your gut from, connecting your levels of DMT to heighten, or dimethyltryptamine in your system to heighten to where you can go into this other astral state. So it all plays a role, but then the mindset to me is half and half between. That's why intentionality is important. If you're hungry and you have an intention to make a sandwich, well, that's where the intention starts. Next thing you know, you eat a sandwich, you're fed. It's the same with if you want to connect deeply with anything and respect all the elements around you. Your intention empowers everything. And that's just another small function of your creative power that we use, that we don't always attribute how powerful that is every day. When we put our will towards something, it creates motion, it creates action, it actually starts to create. So when you're going into your sacred temple and you're going and asking to connect more with your divinity and everything that is, well, do the cleaning, you know. And it's for your own good. Like I mentioned, you can,
Is
because
it
some people show up by accident. Some people don't know that some people could be at a rave and doing all sorts of drugs, and then that's where you find your first awakening to connect you deep with yourself. So you never truly know where a person's going to find that awakening, but I will tell you, just to be frank, because again, I'm a straight shooter, to some of these deeper depths of connection with the mother divine, you got to
Mhm.
purify. There's no way around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no
I
way.
hear
And
that. That
purification
makes
is a
sense.
good thing.
What kind of, yeah, I believe that. What fears did you have to, overcome to follow this path that you have for yourself? What fears?
I think it's less fear. It's more because I'm a crazy person. I live for this. I live for this. My heart is in
Mhm.
this 100%. I gave my life to God. It was just like,
Aw.
this is my path. I love it. Take me. What you gonna do? Kill? I'm supposed to die this way. Let's go. But after
Aw,
the divine pulls and pulls and
I
pulls and
love
see,
that.
wow, you really want nothing out of life but to have everything be in the divine order, and you're willing to divest yourself of all your vices, divest yourself of all the things that can tug and pull at you, that are temptations of this world, to do that. Now, that's not the plight for everybody. You said, why are we here? We are here to play and dance in this beautiful garden of heaven that we have.
Yes.
I apparently have a different path and chose a different path, and I love the path that I chosen. I don't think it's the fear. I think it's the part that you talked about, which is it is hard sometimes. What I notice is even if I'm singing with the birds or connected with the divine, something in the human body will still find 15% of things to just complain about or be dissatisfied or every once in a while be bored. So
Yeah.
I see why wisdom sages walk with their hands in their back and their just head kind of tilted down and don't say too much because there's a level of contentment that has brought me to have with the nature. So I think for me, less than the fear has been pretty much weeded out. It's been more so the dedication and devotion to staying the course and staying patient. So the patience to me is
Mm,
more gruesome than the fear. The fear, I think I've done away with just about
yeah.
almost all of it, if not all of it. But to keep the diapers on, I'm going to say almost, but the patience,
Yeah.
especially when the divine starts to lead your vessel to just do it because it will start taking away all of the things that have a parasitic nature in your system, all the things that make you eat the things that you really don't want to be consuming. They'll make you feel off, that imbalance your gut, all the things that make you go do activities that you don't really want to get involved with. You really want to switch your pattern, but it's very hard to. So the patience to just stay the course, that's the part that requires that devotion and that dedication that will always reward you tenfold. That's why when you say it's getting hard and it's harder and you wonder, trust me, sister girl, it's worth it. Keep going because there are levels of breakthroughs that happen
Yeah.
that
Thank
break you
you.
through, a completely different level. I mean, what's today? February 17th? We breach into this energetic new year tipping
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
today. That's today. So we are coming
Yeah.
into a
Yes,
full
that's today.
spectrum to a completely different space when it comes to just our whole operating system. So when you are on the course, I think staying the course is the thing to really worry about. I think when, the fear takes you through leaps of expansion and when you overcome all of those, beautiful. But when you start to work, honor your process, being that always understand where you are is perfect. Have grace with yourself, most importantly.
Mhm.
This is not a competition. You're not
Yeah.
aiming to get it nowhere. So to me, that's all a part of surrender, which is being present because we spent, again, so much of life trying to rush to the next activity, get to the next thing, finish eating so we can go down the street, to finish getting down the street so we could come back home and finish. Everything's a rush, rush, rush to where there's so much to enjoy in every single moment of bliss in life if you will just slow down. So staying the course,
Thank you
embracing
for
the
that.
patience and just being very present with what is, allowing that curiosity to meet you in those spaces. Like what you learn with these master plants, after they do a certain level of purification, you're like a vegetable. But when it's time to move and do something, your spirit naturally gets up and goes to do it. And then you're in oneness with this. And that's a
Yeah.
different place to live by because you're not rushing anything. But then you can truly enjoy the experience of life. Then you can truly just embrace being.
Yeah.
And so coming to presence, coming back to breath, coming back to that space of being in the moment, that's where we're trying to get to.
Thank you so much for reminding me to be patient, and your words have given me the strength to keep going today. I don't wanna do this. This is not my home. I'd like to go home, and I'm very honest about that. It's so bliss here. This is just a beautiful experience. Earth is not my home. Earth is this school that we're in, and yeah, sometimes I wanna go home, so
Uh-huh.
I thank you. You have no idea about that, but I thank you for giving me what I needed to keep going and to be patient with myself and to give myself grace. And I'm not on any timeline that's like I have to reach the finish line at this point. So yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. You have no idea what this has done for me. And I hope that this conversation has been good. In fact, I know I don't have to hope that this conversation is going to land on the ears of someone that's going to be like, God, I needed that. And that's the reason why I wanted to face my fear and come out here and start this channel and ask questions. I'm curious. I want to know stuff. I want to know about human behavior. This is the reason why I probably worked in the field. What makes people tick? Why do we feel this way? Why do we do it this way? How can we do it differently? And so I really appreciate you. So I'm going to honor your time and I thank you for spending this time with me. But I'd like to ask all of my guests that come to the Fear to Freedom Project, what are you most excited about in life right now, Shaman Dinka?
Staying the course, because the Mother Divine, who I'm convinced is the woman, has been blessing me in so many ways. So I'm just excited to continue to live the heavenly experience every second of every day. I live very, very present, moment to moment, every day, and I'm so grateful for that. And it shows me so much, and every day is a new adventure. So I just look forward to continuing that, and I pray everybody continues on their plight to doing the same.
This conversation has been amazing for me. It really has. I've been called to the plants and I'm excited about, learning from Mama Ayahuasca. I have sat with some plants already and what's opening up for me is mind-blowing actually. But it's very warm, it's very gentle, and it's expansive. It brings me back to myself. It helps me to remember some kind of way. Like it feels like home. And so I hope that this conversation brings you back to yourself and that you face any fears that you have about living in this world, about who you are, about why you are. Your existence matters. You are a part of the divine, the highest and purest light that is of creation. That is creation. You are it. And so I hope that this conversation has been something very special for you today. I thank you for tuning into Conscious Connections today. If you haven't seen any other episode, watch the other 3 episodes. We have 3 medicine women that I interviewed that talks about psilocybin, that talks about iboga, and that also talks about ayahuasca. So tune into those episodes and maybe, plant medicine is for you. I thought it would be very special to talk about plant medicine as a healing tool versus Western medicine, versus going to a therapist for, umpteen years or taking medication, pharmaceuticals. And I'm not just saying that those modalities are not important and that they cannot get you there or help you in some, distinct way. But I am also telling you that nature, the natural path of being reconnected to yourself is the way to heal yourself. It is you that can heal yourself. Well, I hope today's conversation reminds you that healing is not always about doing more, about fixing more, about becoming something new. Sometimes it's just really about remembering who you were before the fear came, before the forgetting came, before the separation came, before we learned to distrust the wisdom that's in our own bodies and that's in our own lineages. That's what this is about. So whether or not, plant medicine is a part of your path, the invitation still remains the same to study your life, to master yourself, and to cultivate right relationship with your body, with your community, and with the living world that is around you. Be sure to subscribe and like and share. Subscribe to the channel. This is a beautiful channel. It's going to be so much more that resonates through this channel. Share this episode with someone you love and tell them to leave a comment. You leave a comment. Tell me how this resonates with your soul. And yeah, I want to hear from you. This is where fear ends and freedom begins. And until the next time, peace and love. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shaman Dinka, for coming to the Fear to Freedom Project.